Welcome to Barca News. It is April 19th, 2026. And fake news regarding the Negreira case that started circulating on social media platforms. I'm gonna tell you all about that. By the way, no coincidence in regards to the timing, but we'll talk about it. Also, Barcelona intensifying their scouting of Marco Palestra. And finally, Andreas Christensen rejecting Barcelona's offer. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mo, and I'm doing a short live stream because it got pretty late today. I was out all day, so I ran out of time to film, edit, and post. So since I don't have time to do that, I'm doing this short live stream to bring you all Barcelona news from Sunday. Of course, this is not a podcast, so I won't be reacting to the comments live. But don't worry, because tomorrow, Monday, we do have podcast day. So of course, I hope to see all of you there. All right, let's dive right into the news because, ladies and gentlemen, within 24 hours of Real Madrid getting eliminated out of the Champions League at the hands of Bayern Munich, a fake article or fake news started circulating social media outlets in regards to the Negreira case. Surprise, surprise. Is it a time coincidence? I don't think so. But anyways, let's talk about what was being circulated on social media. Now, what went viral was a post by the former referee Estrada Fernandez, who posted excerpts of a document. Nobody knew where the document was coming from, but nonetheless, it was excerpts from a document that he posted that made it seem that was coming from a judge, that a judge had ruled that Barcelona were guilty of corruption. And that went absolutely viral with thousands of people sharing it, saying, look, we got proof. A judge has written an opinion about how Barcelona are guilty in the Negreira case. Now, what was the excerpts, or what were the excerpts about? These are the excerpts. That's a picture of that clown who shared those excerpts. Again, the former referee, Estrada Fernandez. Now, the first excerpt read, the general tone in the statements of the referees and former referees was that the system of control and evaluation of the performance of the referees, in which Mr. Enriquez Negreira had a special role, was arbitrary and was perverted, dependent on the promotion and professional career of the referees on the mere will of those responsible for the CTA. The second excerpt that Estrada Fernandez shared on his social media account. Certainly, that incriminating elements that already existed at the time of the order of the March 14, 2024, the $1 million payments from Barcelona to vice president of the technical committee of the referees, and their absolute lack of justification, among many others, plus several additional elements that have been added as the police investigation has progressed, amply justify the continuation of the present proceedings by the way of undoubtedly allow the inoculation of a continuing pattern of sporting corruption of criminal roots. Excuse me. Mamma mia. Of criminal roots and attributable to all those under investigation. So again, Fernandez Estrada shared those two excerpts that had completely been cut out from a document. You couldn't see anything else. You couldn't see the heading of that document. You couldn't see who signed that document. You couldn't see who wrote that document. Nothing. It was just two excerpts, and that went viral with people saying, oh, look, the judge, the court has ruled that there is signs of corruption, that Barcelona can't justify the payments to Enriquez Negreira, and that Enriquez Negreira used the money that Barcelona paid him to kind of alter the competition by promoting and demoting referees. Well, people did some digging, and well, lo and behold, those two excerpts were not from a court ruling. They were not from a judge's opinion. In fact, they were from Real Madrid's accusatory instrument. In other words, that's the document that Real Madrid drafted accusing Barcelona of corruption and then submitted it to the court. In other words, it's not evidence of anything, right? Because the whole point of submitting a complaint is that the court investigates it and then they decide whether that complaint is true or not, right? If I write a document saying, hey, my neighbor stole $1 million from me and I submit it to the court, that's not evidence that he did. That's just an accusation. The judge then, or the court has then to investigate whether he did or not. So, was this done on purpose? Again, two excerpts accusing Barcelona of corruption can't see what document they came from. You can't see who wrote it. You can't see who signed it. They were just simply shared. It went viral. And all of this happened within 24 hours of Real Madrid getting eliminated out of the Champions League. Coincidence? I don't think so. By the way, as you know by now, it's been proven time and time again that Enrique Negreira had absolutely no power in promoting or demoting referees. In fact, just 2 days ago, a former vice president of the CTA who worked with Negreiras once again confirmed the same exact thing that we knew, that Negreira had no power of promoting or demoting referees. So there goes their entire theory of how Barcelona supposedly affected the competition. By the way, it's been 3 years since the Negreira investigation has been opened. It's gone through 3 different judges, 7 different extensions, and yet not a shred of evidence that Barcelona bribed referees directly by paying them money through Negreira, or that Barcelona influenced the competition by paying Negreira to promote and demote referees who were willing to help. Anyways, on to the next bit of news, because, ladies and gentlemen, Barcelona will be keeping their winter signing, who's no other than Patricio Pacificico. Now, Barcelona signed Patricio Pacificico this winter transfer market on loan until the end of the season. There's an option to buy in his contract that would be automatically activated if he plays 45 minutes of at least 10 matches. He has so far played 6 matches, so even though Patricio Pacificico has not met that clause, Barcelona have decided to still sign him because he has been absolutely wonderful. Now, Patricio Pacificico, if you don't know who he is because you've missed the past videos, he's a 20-year-old left back, Uruguayan left back, who Barcelona signed on loan from Defensor, which is a Uruguayan club. He so far has been a starter in every single match since becoming available. He not only has been showing incredible skill on the field, he's also shown a lot of versatility where he has been deployed as a left back, left center back, and even as a right center back. And he's even become a leader on the field and within the locker room, despite his very short stint so far at Barcelona. And for all those reasons, Barcelona will be signing Patricio Pacificico this summer transfer market. Now, speaking of fullbacks, ladies and gentlemen, we have to talk about someone we talked about previously on this channel, who's no other than Marco Palestra, because Barcelona are intensifying their scouting of what is considered one of the most promising Italian players currently in Italy. Now, if you don't know who Marco Palestra is, he's 21-year-old fullback. He can play both as a right fullback or as a left fullback. He's currently on loan by Atalanta. Atalanta's loaned him. I forgot what club he's currently loaned with. But nonetheless, he's someone that Barcelona have been tracking him for quite some time. And in fact, half of Europe are currently tracking him. Half of Europe is interested in him. And Barcelona have intensified their interest in him because he is their favorite option to reinforce the fullback positions. As you know, the priority right now is left wing, center forward, and center back. But Barcelona have also noticed that the fullback positions could benefit from a reinforcement. And since Barcelona don't really have money to sign a right back and a left back to compete with Koundé and Balde, they've been in the market looking for someone who can play on both sides. And while Marco Palestra checks that box, he can play on both sides. He's young. He's incredibly promising. He currently has a 30 million euro market value. A year ago, he was only worth 3 to 30, 10x value in 1 year. But of course, what's the problem is we know that Atalanta will want a lot of money. But anyways, just know that Barcelona heavily interested in this young Italian fullback. Now, speaking of defenders, we now have to talk about a defender who's currently at the club, who's no other than Andreas Christensen, because the Danish defender has rejected Barcelona's offer for contract renewal. Now, as you know, Christensen's contract expires this summer, 2026. Barcelona extended a contract renewal offer, more of a thank you. He didn't want to, just leave him hanging since he's been injured for the last 2 seasons. And since he came to the club during a difficult time, he signed for free. Barcelona didn't want to leave him hanging, so they offered him a 1+1 contract renewal, meaning extending his contract by another season with an option to renew for a second one. Of course, this contract slashed Christensen's salary by half. However, the more matches he played, the more his salary would go up. And if he played more than 50% of all the matches of next season, his salary would go up to what it currently stands at. In other words, They want to make sure that Christensen doesn't just renew and stays injured, but instead, if he stays healthy, he would make more and more money. But Christensen has rejected that offer, citing that, well, the salary is too low. However, despite having a lot of offers from the Premier League and the Bundesliga, Christensen has told Barcelona that he's rejecting the offer, but he wants to stay. His number one priority is to stay at Barcelona. So we'll see whether this interest means that Barcelona will make him a better offer, or whether Barcelona will say, sorry, that's our only offer. Have a good day. I honestly, I don't even understand why we're trying to renew his contract to begin with. Nothing against Christensen. I think he's an incredible defender, but he's been injured for 2 fucking seasons. 2 seasons he's been injured. What's the point of renewing him? And now he even has the audacity of rejecting the contract renewal. I say send them packing. What the hell are we doing here? But anyways, that's just my opinion. Now, let's end today's video with the news that Eduardo Conceal has signed with a new super Asian who's no other than Giuliano Bertolucci. Now, if you don't know who Conceal is someone we've talked a lot about on this channel. 16-year-old Brazilian left winger currently playing for Palmeiras under 20. He's also an international with Brazil's under 17. He is your typical Brazilian winger, you know, lots of speed, dribbling, 1v1, lots of flair, lots of jogo bonito, you know, kind of like a Neymar kind of profile, someone that Barcelona have been tracking for quite some time. He's considered one of the most promising Brazilian players currently in Brazil. And in fact, it's reported that Barcelona have already began talks to sign Eduardo Conceal, who they won't be able to sign, by the way, until January 2028, because of course he's 16 years old. To bring a player from another continent outside of Europe, they have to be 18. Conceal doesn't turn 18 until January 2028, but nonetheless, Barcelona are trying to close a deal, and Conceal has now signed with Giuliano Bertolucci. Why is this relevant? Because Bertolucci is an Asian who has links to all major European clubs, which signals that Eduardo Conceal is ready to make that jump. And more importantly, Bertolucci is a very close friend of Deco. Coincidence? Or is this Conceal making it clear that he wants to come to Barca? We're going to have to wait and see, because Chelsea and Man City are making a huge push for the Brazilian player. Anyways, that is all, ladies and gentlemen. I will be going live in a few more moments, so stay tuned to the channel. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and as always, Visca Barça.